If you've always wanted to support the show with your hard-earned cash, now's the time to pause, go to Patreon, and search out FNRad. Join one of our tiers. You'll get ad-free episodes every week, one day early, plus more cool stuff. The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Skyview Campers, Never Summer's innovative take on the tiny home. Designed and built in beautiful Colorado, check out skyviewcampers.com. Wired Snowboards offers quality hand-built custom snowboards built and tested in the coastal mountains. Wired has built me several one-of-a-kind boards that have stood up to my daily shred habit. In fact, my first Wired Chase is still my go-to POW board after 7 seasons. Wired brings my imagination into existence. That's fucking rad. Check out wiredsnowboards.com and design yourself a board to last a lifetime. Fixed bindings are easy to adjust, long-lasting, high-performance bindings built to have less impact on the environment. Check out fixedbindingco.com. Rip Curl outerwear, strength, durability, and performance. Designed to search further in the snow, head to ripcurl.com and check out the Anti-Series jacket. I can't wait to rock this thing. The Boardroom Snowboard Shop, best selection, best prices, Vancouver's premier snowboard shop. Go to boardroomshop.com and use code FNRAD10 to save 10% off your next purchase. New Greens, 100% organic, vibrant green juice. Buy yourself some at newgreens.com and use code FNRAD at checkout for 20% off. And for a chance to try New Greens for free, listen to the end of the show. Support also comes from Mount Seymour, Grouse Mountain, Cypress Mountain, the Pro Standard GoPro accessories, and our friends at 1910. You can use code FNRAD at checkout for 20% off at 1910.com. 4 months out from quitting my job as a mailman, and I haven't even started to look for a new job yet. That feels pretty good. So last Saturday, I looked at how far Nelson was from Vancouver, made a couple of calls, and hit the road to collect a series of interviews with awesome people. Nelson's a sleepy mountain town at the heart of the Powder Highway, and my first stop was the Baldface headquarters to interview their co-founder and entrepreneurial genius, Jeff Pensiero. Jeff worked for Glissade Snowboards and spent the early 90s shredding in Tahoe before migrating to BC to follow his heart and his passion for backcountry snowboarding. In 2002, Jeff opened Baldface with a group of investors that included Craig Kelly and John Buffery, as well as a handful of others, some you've heard of like Dave Grohl, and some you haven't. 20 years later, Baldface employs somewhere around 100 people, and some weeks of catboarding at the lodge are sold out years in advance. Baldface represents the best snowboarding on the planet and is on pretty much every true snowboarder's bucket list. Here's Baldface co-founder Jeff Pensiero.
Yeah, let's start with this. These things are the best. This is this product called Magic Mind. You may have seen it on Instagram. They're doing a great job of getting the word out. But this is a friend of mine, Nate Warner, is helping these guys. And this is I think maybe the new version of like an energy drink, like Red Bull or Monster or Rockstar.
What's it called?
This is called Magic Mind, and it's got all sorts of good things in it, but mostly matcha, adaptogen mushrooms, nootropic mushrooms, and some nice vitamins in here. And this stuff gives you a nice little burst. It feels like my mind is carbonated after I drink one of these. Here we go.
That's the copy right there. Check.
And they're tasty little flavor bombs too. Magic Mind. Do more, stress less.
What's the flavor? How's the flavor? You said
you tell me.
they're
They're delicious.
So what one is this? Do more,
they're all the same.
Stress less. It's all one. Yeah.
It's all one, and it's just like these guys are pretty tuned in, and their idea is like, it's like, you know, when you drink a energy drink and you kind of feel a bit of energy and clarity and all this kind of stuff. This stuff does all that, but without tons of sugar and caffeine and all that stuff.
Oh, wow. It's really good.
Yeah, and it's adaptogen mushrooms, which are really great, like lion's mane and reishi. They're really great for repairing problems that you may have from, like we're going to talk about, concussions and other traumas. Good stuff.
My favorite go-to for nutrition stuff is this guy, Dr. Andrew Weil. You ever hear of that guy?
Yeah.
Big bushy beard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he talks about adaptogen mushrooms, and he has been for a very, very long time, right? Yeah. And he talks about breathing, which is something that I heard you talk about on the bomb hole as well. Like, I can't believe how effective breathing is for mood stabilization, for me in particular.
It's, well, got to breathe to live.
What is you said that you do a breathing exercise in the morning to get going.
Well, let's just go real talk. I have been doing this a long time, and I've fallen off of the wagon.
It
the
happens,
breathing wagon.
Right? It happens.
And I'm really looking forward to getting back on it. It's really easy in the winter because my time is a little bit more mine in the winter time.
That seems counterintuitive, actually.
It does, but I wake up in the morning up there, and I have like a half an hour, 45 minutes of just me time. And come on in. And it seems like in the summer and when we're dealing with preseason and stuff, I don't have that time so much.
Okay. So when did you fall off, though? Did you fall off during the winter?
No. I was doing I'm pretty good with it, and I still do it. I just don't do it like as religiously as I do.
How long is it?
Like 20 to 40 minutes.
Oh, okay. Because if it was like a 2 to 3 minute thing, I'm like, you should do it here, and we'll cut it into a thing, and you'll guide people through breathing.
Well, I think part of it's kind of like if you discover it on your own, it'll mean more to you as well. And everyone has their own like version of what's going to stick.
Yep.
So a lot of people have asked me about it after I talked about it on the bomb hole and stuff, and there's so many great places to get the information.
Oh, there is. Yeah, there really is. Yeah, so I do box breathing whenever I'm stressed, which is just in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. Rasmus talked about it on his episode, I think, at the bomb hole, actually.
Yeah, box breathing's great. This is more like you just get comfortable or lay down, and you kind of, easiest way to say it would be like you take repetitive deep breaths, and you concentrate on the inhale and you concentrate on the exhale, and then you just stop. Twice you stop on the inhale and you hold, and twice you stop on the exhale and you hold. So I kind of look at it after reading Nestor's book called Breathe. I think of it less as pushing oxygen out to my extremities as pulling carbon dioxide through my bloodstream into my lungs, and then exhaling all the stress and waste product that just comes from day-to-day stress and living. And so I used to think about it like I'm hyper oxygenating my brain, the very ends, and pushing it out. But now I think of it differently, and I think it's a natural thing to do, of more like the carbon dioxide's like the sewer system of your breathing. It's like how we get rid of the waste product. And so I'm really trying to just pull that through my bloodstream into my lungs and then out on my exhalation. It's really cool. Breathing's a really cool thing. And, like anything, you kind of get lit up about it for a while, and then it can kind of leave. And then when you come back to it, it's still there and it's still super valid. But, that's kind of how my life is like I get lit up about things, and then I really investigate it, get to know it, and then I can kind of take it and leave it from there. And I'm really excited because like I said, I'm getting my time back now.
Yeah, that's
in the
dope.
mornings. And to be totally fair, I could, like last year, I was doing it every day. I did it for a couple of years every day, pretty religiously. And if I didn't do it in the morning, I'd find time during the day to do it. But I'm doing some other things, like I quit smoking weed and stuff like that. So I'm like pretty focused on just that whole change, which has been really good for me.
I remember now you commented when I was doing the Instagram live with, who was I with? Was it Easto? No, it was just by myself.
Yeah.
And I was talking about my experience. And I'm like, I've got tons of friends that smoke weed every day.
Yeah.
And you made a comment like, yeah, that was a tough one to quit or something. I can't remember the comment.
I did. I started smoking weed a long time ago, and I've always
like kid, like
kid,
Estelle's age.
And of course, that was not even weed by today's standards. That was like lawn clippings. It was not very strong.
I grew some lawn clippings.
It was
this year,
Bud Light.
And I kind of like it. I kind of like the not craziness of, but I grew like, I don't know, an ounce of weed, 3 plants or something, and they were terrible. And I rolled one joint and I've smoked it 3 times or something in the last 3 months.
I'm kind of an all or nothing.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, I kicked it. But I started mixing it with the tobacco. Tanner Hall talks about it on his bomb hole.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me too, where it's like after a while you realize you're just smoking.
You are.
And then I was like, this isn't really me, but it was me. And then I used this. So this is kind of what took the place of the breathing for me was what's it called? Neuroplasticity training, which is really interesting topic on its own. But I dove into this neuroplasticity retraining of my mind and basically reprogrammed myself, and I became a non-smoker. And now when I think of smoking anything, I kind of think of it as like, if you were 54 and you had never inhaled anything in your life, why would you start?
Right.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
It's the opposite of what you were just talking about, getting the toxins out of your body.
Right.
It's like you're loading up on toxins into your body.
And the further I get away from it, the more I'm just like, why would anybody start? Why would anybody start at this age? You know? And that was a lot of work, to be fair. And so I think I used all that meditation and time with the breathing to get me to the point where I could really make a really conscious decision. And I still struggle with it sometimes, but I'm keeping it real. I'm really
that's
proud
dope.
of myself.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
And it's
that.
weird when you're successful. It's something like I can look back at 25 years of Baldface now and be like, geez, I like complete stoner and like keeping it together and making all these amazing things happen and getting all these accolades and pats on the back. And it's like, fuck, shit's working. Like, why would I almost like don't change anything? Like it's working.
Right.
And,
which is
your
a very,
mind does that to you,
an addict kind of mindset, isn't it? Right.
Totally. But then, it's like a little bit of a different reality, but it's also like, maybe I was even throttling myself back a little bit. Now I'm kind of starting on a couple new things that maybe I wouldn't have had the courage to do or whatever before. So we'll see what's next.
That's really interesting.
Life is a really cool journey when you embrace all these changes and like choose your battles and that kind of stuff. I'm really enjoying that.
Well, your attitude seems to have sort of written the script or the skeleton script for what was going to happen in your life, right? Like it sounds like early on, you came up with this idea of like, hey, there are lucky people out there. What if I'm one of them?
Right.
And I mean, what a great thought for a kid, right? Like if there's a thought that I could give to my 24 and 20-year-old right now is like, study the lucky people. Because, people say that cliche luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? Yeah. But luck is a mindset too, right? Like it's gratitude. It's literally the gratitude mindset is to be like, what am I lucky about today? Right? Even in the face of something terrible happening. Yeah. You can use a luck mindset.
Well, I think you can just walk around and, right now we're sitting here in November, season's starting up. We're a little low on snow right now.
People are tripping.
Are people tripping?
I saw Tony Welch posted today. There's only been 3 seasons where there was no snow by Thanksgiving in the recorded history of wherever.
Well, I was just up at the lodge and went up with Enzo. He went for a little ski tour. There's like 60 to 100 Cs up there. Like, it's okay.
Yep.
And we've got guide training and then risk maturity coming. And there's some snow in the forecast. I'm not that worried about it. But, like, I've kind of been, unfortunately, but fortunately, really following what's going on in the Middle East right now.
Oh, wow.
And it's so easy to find gratitude for what I do and where I live and be like, I'm not really going to sweat the snow in BC at Baldface right now.
Right.
I'm the luckiest guy. That's a real great problem to have compared to what a lot of people are going through right now. And even people in my community. And so I try to keep perspective. I think we all should. We slide around on little plastic toys in the mountains and find infinite wisdom and joy with our friends. Like we have all put ourselves in a wonderful, wonderful situation.
What
and
a lucky,
we should be super grateful.
What a lucky break, right? Yeah. To have snowboarding hit when you were the right age and then that it crossed your periphery and that you got that.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I hear you talking about Tahoe in the 90s, like allowed at the resorts Tahoe,
Yeah.
like there's nothing more exciting than that, right? Like oh my God, last year, I'm thinking Colorado, right? Arapahoe Basin opens, and then the year that Breck opens, it just cracks the snowboard community wide open from all over the place.
Yeah.
People just move from everywhere.
It was crazy. And really what got me into snowboarding was breaking my ankle skiing.
How do you even do that? What?
I was...
You'd have to break the boot.
I had
wouldn't
snowboarded
you?
a few times and had like an old wooden snowboard and kind of did a little in Cleveland. I had a snurfer and would go like literally on the hill next to my house.
Wow.
It's like a toy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then went out to Idaho. My friend Kenny Wolford had a Burton back hill and we would take turns hiking up the side of the road on the way to Galena Summit. Like literally mole hills.
Right.
Post-holing through waist-deep pow to just get
it.
a turn or two,
Yeah.
in like a CB pullover jacket with like, jeans. Like
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
So it was kind of that. And then I did a little in Colorado when I went to Colorado State. And we would go at Loveland and we would bring snowboards and do road shots going down to A Basin.
I could see it.
That's where we did the
That's a
snowboarding and then we'd go
beautiful
skiing
spot.
for the day.
Good terrain in there.
Yeah, and it was like kind of easy and no big deal. And,
Yeah, yeah.
one guy would drive the car and two of us would, shred down.
Yeah, and you have eyes on the guy the whole
Yeah,
way.
no big deal. You're kind of
yeah.
right next to the road, but it was fun. And it was
Yeah.
like a lot of turns.
Lots.
And
yeah.
then went to Tahoe and was skiing I transferred to Sierra Nevada and was skiing at Squaw Valley with my friend Dylan Farr and went up Siberia Express and sent it off of a cat road that's under the lift there.
Okay.
And like exploded my ankle when I landed.
Oh, no.
It was like shit. And it was pretty early season and I was pretty bummed. And he was friends with the Kemper rep.
Yep.
This was like year 2 or 3 with Kemper. Mike Kaiser, really nice guy. And they wanted to go snowboarding all the time. So he said, will you sit in my Astro van and take people's driver's licenses and set them up? So
What boards were they? Were
the
you like
FS, the Kemper FS.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then the second year it was the Phantom and the Hetzel with the trucks on the bottom.
So do they have inserts at that point?
Yep.
The Hetzel does, but the FS
They did.
was-
They had a totally crazy like circular pattern.
Yeah,
on
like
them.
the
and you could have
5-volt
like
pattern. Yeah.
so it
Oh
wasn't.
no, they had their own one.
Yeah,
Right.
It wasn't infinite.
No.
It was just
You
like
had a
you could have
couple.
like a lot of angle or medium
You
or
had
none.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and then it all just kind of started from there, and it was
Well, that's fun too, right? You're still involved. You're sitting in the van. People are like, "What the hell is this?" And you're like,
it was killer.
and then they come back and they're like, "Wow, where do I get one of these?"
Yeah, it was really fun,
Yeah.
and they could only go on a couple runs at High Camp. Squaw's Palisades now is a tram that goes up.
Yeah.
And then there's a High Camp area where there's some shorter lifts up
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
You could ride a couple of those, and then you could ride the mountain run all the way down.
So on a bow day, there's good terrain and there's not.
But it
many
was very
skiers hitting
limited.
it,
You
but
weren't
it's-
allowed to go
yeah,
on all this stuff.
yeah.
And the cool thing was there were guys there then who would, I don't know if they shoveled them out or not or what it was, but like the side hits on the mountain run in the 90s were crazy. And you would just see guys on this pretty shitty equipment like Hetzel. You would actually see Andy Hetzel and Palmer and those kind of guys, Jimmy Halapoff, and like going to the moon off of those side hits. It was crazy.
Yeah, when I heard you talking about it, I was like taken right there. Like because I moved to Vancouver in 93. So like 93 at Baker, you're going to see Jamie Lynn, you're going to see Tex, and you're going to see Craig, and you're going to see Fulton and Bass. Like you're going to see these unbelievably Rankwitz up there, like unbelievably top tier pros riding so fast at this mountain. And like watching Jamie hit a side hit, it wasn't even like you couldn't wrap your head around it.
Unfathomable.
Like you'd be looking at it going, oh, that's a skier jump to flat. And then he would gap it to a landing that you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys up in Tahoe, you've got Noah. You mentioned Corey Octoon.
Corey was really good.
Corey's
Darren
such
Single would come down from Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, that all those standard guys would come down to shoot with the hatchets, right?
Yeah.
And so they would just session there and up at Jurassic Park, up at Boreal. Brett Seger put that together.
Sick.
Yeah, those were some neat days for sure, man. It was wild.
So you're in the scene. Is your ankle healed by this time? When was the ankle
Kind
break?
of, yeah. It was like, it healed up, no big deal.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think just where I came from and how I got there, a lot of those young guys were pretty dedicated to skateboarding before they ever got into snowboarding.
That's true.
And I was not a good skateboarder at all. You know, I could like kind of pump around trannies in the park and stuff, but I'm no skateboarder still.
Yeah.
So I think just in the birth of snowboarding, there was either like you had skateboarding skills or you did not have skateboarding skills. And I was on the, I did not have the skateboarding skills.
I just had a conversation with Devin Walsh because we were at Wired and the boardroom crew was there. And somebody asked me, you know, method, do you grab between the bindings or on the nose? And I was like, I've heard it's on the nose, right as close to the bindings as you can. And then I was like, well, why don't we look and see where Jamie grabs it? And then I was like, Devin's right here. Why don't we just ask Devin? Yeah. So Devin said it's always between the bindings because of skateboarding. And I went home and I was kind of like, well, the king has spoken, you know, it's between the bindings. And then I realized I like it outside the bindings because that's pure snowboarding. You can't grab your nose like that on a skateboard. There isn't that. That's not there.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
When you think about those iconic images of like Terry Kidwell, Sean Palmer, all the Sims days, like guys are grabbing their mutes.
Damien
and Dana and TB and all those dudes are grabbing the tip because they're snowboarders. So I think you grab it wherever the fuck you want.
I think
first of all,
there's like,
but
there's two kinds of people who jump off of shit on snowboards.
Yeah.
There's all the people whose names you know who have had like pro models and things.
Sure.
Like Jamie, Trav, Nicholas, all these people that we were just talking about, Devin. And what happens with them, DCP, I can go down the list because I've talked to all of them about it.
Cool.
But when they leave the earth, time slows down for them. And they feel like this like opportunity. When mortals like me leave the earth, it's like a bird falling out of the nest back down to the ground. Like gravity hits me a little bit harder. So if I can even like get a grab, let alone think about style or tweaking, that's like a bonus round for me. If I get enough, that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like doing it. But those guys make it look so freaking easy, and they take it for granted across the board. This otherworldly sense to slow down time when they're in the absence of gravity, where me, gravity's like, oh no, you motherfucker, get back down here. I don't know what it is, but
no, I hear you 100%.
What a privilege again to be able to think of like what's more important, grabbing in front of the binding or in between the bindings.
Right.
Like Jesus, I don't know. Like any way you do it, you're pretty dope. You know?
Absolutely.
We're pretty stoked.
Oh, you grabbed your board. That's now that I'm getting old. That's a big deal.
It's the landing that really is that's the moment where it feels really
I was struggling at Holy Bowly to just find a flow line.
Yeah.
I had started kind of going straight down the middle, and then I broke myself off on there was like just a little pancake volcano that it is really technically difficult when it's hard. It's just a technically difficult feature to hit. And I was confident on my landing, caught my heel edge, fly swatted, swacked my head. And I ended up following you the next day down what you called an old man lap, which had significant air compared to what I was trying to do the day before, but also a level of safety that I was like, oh, thank God. What a good... Yes.
I find
ride
landings,
smart.
like when I go to Holy Bully or Estelle's thing, I'm not really looking at the air. I really love to, even in POW, especially in POW, like I shoot for the perfect landings. And that's what Trav really taught me that a lot when we were building Supernatural, because all those features are not arbitrarily placed on the mountain.
Right.
he found the landings and then built the perfect jump to the natural landing. That's the game on that thing. And that was the magic of that course. Was
that course
those landings
is
were money.
That course is gnarly.
Yeah.
And I think awesome. We saw it as a community, the difference between when the conditions are dead on perfect and when they're off a little bit, those things are so huge and you're going so fast that they're like, it's more of a challenge than even, I mean, I probably couldn't ride anything on there.
You'd be surprised. I mean, you can find cool lines all over the place. It's your choice on how fast you go off of them or whether you kind of go off the side or whatever. Cause it's again, it's like, if you can pick the right tranny, you can find it. If you can see it, you can get there, generally speaking.
Right.
Which is really cool about that thing.
I think one of the coolest things about it is that it's an evolution of this idea that you had from experiences with the old guard backcountry lodges. That to me really spoke to me because talk about privilege, like I've had the privilege of going, the first year I moved to Vancouver, I went with Whistler Heli. I've done cat at several operations, probably 3. Powder Mountain. There was this powder bug guy in Manning Park Hemlock Valley where we did the backside of Hemlock. That was fun. I know I've been in a cat. Oh, at the one at Trout Lake. Oh my God, their tenure.
Great Northern.
So good. Their tenure is so insane.
We gotta get you out to Valhalla.
Oh, I can't even wait. Yeah. And then also I've had a heli experience in a A-Star, like 15 runs in a day, which I don't think many people get that kind of a day, like a perfect day. Like I can't even imagine topping that day. That day was insane.
Yeah.
And then CMH, I had a friend who was a lodge manager. So I did 2 guest 5 days at CMH. Like, so I've had these experiences that are
epic,
like absolutely next level. I forget where I was going with that. I'm so excited.
Snowboarding's fun. We're very lucky.
Oh, privileged, right? Oh, yeah. So then,
you were talking about the course being a evolution of spending time in the backcountry.
All of those operations, every one I just mentioned, with the exception of Powder Bug, was just a dude, and he let us ride on top of the cat to scope our lines on the way up, which was hilarious and fun. Yeah. And Powder Mountain Snowcats, sorry Ken, but it was an amazing operation when I went there, because they did cater to snowboarding. They didn't do the dumb thing where, the skiers stop somewhere where you've got a post hole as a snowboarder so they can point and laugh, like literally making fun of snowboarders.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in my place.
Yeah, no, that and the fact that it could even still happen is it's kind of shameful, actually, because it's dangerous.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
And when somebody's paying that kind of money to have an experience,
don't even get me started, Eric.
Yeah, no, but this is where
you're gonna get me all fired up.
Yeah. But okay, so now going from that, now you have your tenure, and now all of a sudden the community comes out. You got Travis Rice there saying, "What if we built the ultimate features in your tenure?" Right? Like, am I right on that kind of evolution that you've got the community visiting, and all of a sudden there's these ideas perking around going, wait, what if we make built features on the gnarliest run?
Like, I would love to take more credit for it than I deserve, but honestly, I just tip my hat to Travis. Like, in all reality, we had gotten to know each other a little when he was filming around here. And I was in awe, I was like, God, Travis is a hell of a specimen,
Hell yeah.
And I was a big fan already when I met him, and that was when he was filming. That's it. That's all. And then he came to me with this idea, and we actually looked at he was looking all over the place. And then it was like, it kind of started happening. It was a lot like with Craig, like, what about this place? Oh my God, maybe it might be right here. Wow, that would work. But then like the lodge collapsed, and I had to rebuild the lodge that summer. And I was like, yeah, Trav, can we push this off for a year? And he is not a person to push things off at all.
Right.
And like, I give him tons of credit. Like, I helped get the team together. I worked hard to get the permits together. I did a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And that's what I do, is like create teams and give them the tools they needed to do it. But that's Trav and a guy named Moss Patterson, a guy named Chris Beatty. These guys who built the actual features were absolute Jedis
right
in what they did.
Because they'd done years at Jackson with natural features. And was it the first year at Baldface that they put all that stuff in?
Yeah.
I remember it was either on social media, it must have been social media, where they were building it. And it was like,
oh, people were tripping.
Oh my God, this is going to change the world. And it did.
Yeah. We were all tripping when we built it. But that was kind of ancient history, and it's evolved quite a bit from there. And I think there's like new stuff, and they're doing it in Revelstoke, and Dustin Craven's been building some stuff, and I think it's going to come out this year, and it's going to be, it'll be like, all right, this is where we left it. And, Dustin's quite a creative dude.
Cool.
And Trav gave him apparently, license to really create something. So I'm like on the edge of my seat, and it's neat to be old and be like, there's my contribution. Now I'm really excited to see what the next thing is. And
it's the one thing that I sit and watch. It's the one thing that when it's in my schedule, it's on my feed. And then I talk with the other old guys about, what it was like back in the day and, what it's like to watch in long form, unedited, live format, and then the edited thing. And it's, cool. It's something that I resonate with because it still seems kind of attainable. That imaginary you that is like, I could probably run a 720 still,
Oh, shit.
And then you look and you go, since I was a kid and watching the TV movies, I had this ego where it was like, those guys are just lucky because they're where the snow is with a good jump and a good landing. If I was there, I would do that. Then you go to Baker and you go, oh my God, no.
Yeah, they're superheroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie Lynn, more than most.
Jamie
probably maybe more than ever anyone. Yeah.
Well, Jamie's like, I don't know what we're talking about in this interview, but like Jamie is like Jerry Lopez in that the mindset of like, he 100% is present in the moment and is manipulating that moment so that he can have, this like supreme control over his place in the world at any time. And I really think I can draw such a comparison between those two because I have so much respect and I love them both dearly and they are just such great people. But when you watch Jerry snowboarding and you watch Jamie snowboarding, you can just see this like peace and ease and joy that is so enviable and like really why anybody would do it. The fact that Jamie can do, crazy tricks, styly tricks, tweak himself around is just like Jamie bonus stuff. Like Jamie is just as much fun to watch. I did a trip to Alaska with him this year and we were like partners riding crazy stuff with the best crew ever. And it was so fun just watching him. He just had a kid, so he was toning it down a little bit, which was still pretty tuned up as far as terrain goes, but he's just so comfortable with it. It's so chill. And it's so fun being with someone like that.
Yeah. You've mentioned one of the things I'd love to talk about is Eric Blem's got a book coming out about Craig, and I think it's a seminal book.
I'm looking forward to reading it, and I feel like my time with Craig was it was really special and really like a gift and really like important. And somehow I feel like the more I talk about it, it's like I just I've said what I have to say about it, and I want to just respect the memory for what it is and not try to get anything out of it or misrepresent anything. It was my time with Craig was like, what the fuck is happening in my life right now? I'm going to be grateful and enjoy this and really try to make this happen. And then when he passed, I was like, I used that as rocket fuel. Like, fuck, man, I gotta do this. I can't fail now. I cannot fail all his memory and all this stuff. So I think that's just kind of where I want to leave it. And it was awful when he passed away, and it left a huge wake. And at the end of the day, in a weird way, I'm super grateful that I got to experience all of it, for sure.
Right.
But I'm also, aside from what I just said, definitely don't want to like
tarnish the memory.
Yeah, it was like awesome. Man.
Yeah.
And sad, profoundly sad. Like,
I can't even imagine.
You live your life, and Craig's not the only one. I've lost some friends, and it's it's like, I don't know. We all know what it is. It sucks. Whether you lose a friend in an avalanche, car crash, addiction, cancer, you get older, they just start stacking up, and you try to just like hold on to the really good. The pain goes away and the grief goes away, and it's replaced with this like, I kind of feel like I got a little chorus of angels behind me, like cheering me on as I move into my later stages, and I'm so grateful for it. But I also wouldn't want to offend any of my guardian angels by not remembering something right, or
I feel like Eric's book opened up a window into a different type of person than what I had told myself Craig was. So the story I had told myself was that he was a competitive freestyler, like that went into the backcountry kind of at the tail end of a competitive career, and kind of went, these competitions sort of suck, and just let's make pow turns. But from a very young age, he was an extremely engaged outdoor, like, lover of the outdoors, like a guy like John Buffery.
Summer and winter.
Right. Summer, winter, everywhere in the world. And I think, pivoting off Craig, I think that there are a lot of those people behind the scenes making snowboarding what it is. Like, who are the guys that picked Palisades as a tenure? Who are the people that picked, Baldface? It's like you guys going out there and actually looking at the different options that you have and rolling around in your head. Okay, where can we really get rad? And I don't think a lot of people think about that. I think I don't know. I don't. I take for granted. It's like, I'll go and be like, $210 for a lift ticket? Go fuck yourself. Right? Like, or even to bring it more personal, like I said to Dano, dude, you're going to Baldface again? Count me in. I'm going. And he goes, here's how much it costs. And I went, I'm not going with you on that.
It ain't cheap.
I'm not going. I can't afford it. And that's no disrespect to what it is. What it is an exclusive experience that if you can afford it, you need to go.
Yeah. Or if you have a rich friend that'll take you, is a really good way to go.
The best, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that. It's like, it's crazy because now we have the 2 operations, and so Valhalla is pretty attainable.
Cool.
And is kind of like, it's back to the rootsy experience over there. It's a long drive in and out. There's a lot of bullshit associated. You're like screwing around for 2-3 hours to get 7-8 hours of shredding in,
Got it.
It's kind of like the old days where you got on a ski bus and went to wherever it is, and then you get out, you got to put your boots on and this and that. But that's what Baldface used to be.
Cool.
For years. And it's still priced accordingly. But you start adding a $20 million lodge at the top of the mountain with the food and the helicopters in and out and everything. Like, the price of things has gotten bananas. And I am so grateful that there's still enough customers to be able to do it. And what's kind of cool about Baldface is like, well, there's a lot of things that are cool about it, I'm happy to say. But 25 years later, we still pour money back into that operation.
Dope. And
we're opening new terrain and cutting more trails and glading and buying new cats that are tier 5 cats that have less. I mean, we're constantly improving that thing. And that's why it's expensive, is because it's not really done yet. Like, I don't know when it's going to be done, but like the amount that we put back into that business every year is staggering to me. And that's why I think people love coming back every year to be like, what'd you do this year? What's new? What's this? What's that? And so that it is expensive. There's no doubt about it. And it's really hard to get in because it's an awesome experience. Valhalla still has some availability on the shoulders. It fills up. It's starting to be the same thing all over again where everybody rebooks that seat. They're like, this really works for me. it's not my birthday or my kid's birthday or my anniversary or this holiday. And when you have your little window to get to a cat or heli spot, usually you're like, this really works, and you keep rebooking it and getting in there. And so the cool thing is we put a third cat on at Valhalla, opened up a bunch more terrain this year. That opened up, so we opened it up to all the Baldface customers first, and they pretty much booked it out.
Oh, wow.
We'll
Amazing.
get you in there, you know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was thinking on the way up. I think years ago I contacted you about Craig for the Craig episode, and we didn't do a full episode. I was looking through to see because I wanted to go through and listen. And
Yeah, we talked on the phone.
Yeah, we talked on the phone. That's right. And at that time, I was like, I've got Jeff's cell phone number. I'm definitely taking a crack at this. And I'm sure I sent you some messages about the risk maturity.
Yeah.
And just like, hey, if there's a seat, and you're like, oh my God, the lineup of people that I have, and I've seen it at CMH.
Yeah.
Like, you've got staff. First and foremost, any empty spot, a staff member is going.
Oh yeah, they go all the time. Like,
that.
we build the cats big enough so there can always be a staff member in them.
That's dope.
Yeah, so there's usually always somebody in there.
Yeah.
And you know, managing that can get a little challenging sometimes because like everybody wants to go, but then sometimes you hire people and you don't know that they like don't actually know how to shred. And
Oh,
like,
wow.
You're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that was your one day. 'Cause you can't be slowing things down like that. And then you get other people that are just so keen and so
Frothing.
hot to go.
Yeah.
And you know, you get the dishwasher that's the young guy, and you finally put him in the cat, and he's like sending it like his life depends. You're like, dude, you need to throttle. You still need to
Throttle
wash
down.
the dishes tonight.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you can't break yourself off out here. So
I had a fun time at CMH. I went to Monashis twice as a guest.
What a spot.
And the lodge is amazing. The experience is incredible. And I would just be the happy guy in the lodge.
Yeah.
So I went on a very low snow year the first time, but I was so happy after.
Which year? 2013.
Yes. Yeah. And it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was really bad. But we found amazing snow. For me, and the thing I was going to say on the way up, I'm like, I have matured to the point where I have no desire to like sneak my way in to a Baldface or a Valhalla experience. Hey, I'll ask the listeners of the show, like, where should we go, and have, you know,
That's what we should do.
6 of them show up.
We used to do this vintage snowboard trader trip at
I
Baldface.
remember. Yeah, Dow went on it. So many people I know went on that trip.
That
They
trip
loved
was,
it.
and we did it like 3 or 4 years in a row, and it was like killer. It was so fun.
community.
Patterson broke himself off at that one time.
Nice.
It was such a great trip, and they booked a cat at Valhalla this year.
Oh,
and they're kind
nice.
of bringing the group back together
That's
again.
dope.
And I'm so stoked that they are. And
Yeah.
it's like, once we can kind of get the commitment and be like, all right, we're going to do this every year, then it's really easy to keep it going. And I'm not letting it go at Valhalla. Dave Martin, I'm talking to you. You're keeping that trip. And I want to make sure I can help
That's
grow
dope.
that one, because that's really important that we keep space for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But that vintage snowboarder trip is really what turned into risk maturity.
Oh, right,
that
because
time
it was
frame, 'cause
yeah,
it's early.
It's early,
Yeah.
right. It's like it's a roll of the dice.
And
Like,
that's been going for 10 years now. And we want to
wow,
keep
that's
that going.
great.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
super good. So yeah, I mean, I bought a sled for a year, and I found that having access to way better terrain for me didn't increase my personal satisfaction with snowboarding. I think I might be a small mountain snowboarder. That's the first time I've
You
ever.
might be a powder surfer.
Sure, I might be a powder
may be a
surfer.
powder surfer.
I just find when I'm in the big terrain, which I love, by the way, I would take it every day, 100%. But it wrecks the rest of my year being at a small little mountain resort. I love that little grind for like watching the snow report, getting up, getting ahead of the group, getting there before the crowds, getting 10 runs of untracked, and then being at home making breakfast at my house at like 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know what any of that means.
Oh, dude, it's so amazing. Yeah, just
Yeah, I
riding.
kinda know.
Yeah, no waiting.
Yeah.
Every lap is just, a high-speed quad to the top, great terrain that you're familiar with. It changes throughout the year with the snow levels, so it's really exciting.
Which
in the
mountain is
morning.
that?
I go to all 3,
Like Grouse and
Cypress,
Cypress?
Grouse,
Yeah.
and Seymour.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I like it. I love it.
I got to come visit you.
Oh, you got to come and ride. We've got passes for you. Bring Estelle.
I have not been. I really do want to get around. And
oh, dude, you got to do it. Yeah, you haven't been to Whistler. That's
I've never shredded a day at Whistler. Mountain bike there.
We got to go with Ken Ock.
Yeah.
And just ride Whistler.
I know.
The
one
right
of these
way.
days.
But there is no right way anymore.
Yeah.
Like I don't, barring some weird act of God, or like I don't know. Would Vail do like have the mountain to yourself for an hour or something? If they had that.
You know, I don't even know. I can't remember the last. I mean, I go to Whitewater a couple times in the winter, but like yeah, when I have a day off now, I really value not putting snowboarding boots on when I have a day off. It feels so good to wear shoes in the winter because it's literally wake up in the morning, stretch, eat breakfast, snowboarding boots on like 10, 12 hours a day. Yeah. Take boots off, put them back on the next day. I run 3 pair of boots in the winter.
What boots do you ride?
Well, funny enough, I'm like I like my boots. I don't want new boots all the time.
Me too.
So we did a collab with Vans, and they let me design a boot, which was great. And it's like Homer Simpson when he's designed his car. So I got my dream boot out of Vans.
Amazing.
So I have 2 pair of those, and I go on and off. And then I have 2 pair of the first year leather Arthur Longo boots that are soft. And those softened up a bit. So I'll wear those. It depends on the day. Yep. Like I won't go touring in the really soft boots. I like the Baldface ones a little bit better for that. Cool. And I use those Union Rovers with the POW Surfer. Yep. So I have a pair of Vans Volley Nivell POW Surfing boots that I wear in that setup. They're epic boots. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I use. But I try to not ride in the same boots every day. I find they last like you can get like 4 or 5 years out of a pair of boots if you don't put them on wet. Yeah. If you let them dry out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Do you run stock liners in those things? Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, if you want some intuitions, just let me know. I'll send you a few pairs. They're really nice.
Yeah. The Vans did this liner. I can't remember what they call it, like Infuse or something. And it's like their super high-end liner, and they put it in the Baldface boot. And I'm telling you, I bet I have 120, 130 days in the one pair.
Amazing.
And it's getting a little bit worn, but it's like good to go.
Yeah.
I kind of suck too, which helps because I'm not like tweaking it out. Like I'm not landing giant airs, and I'm just going and working every day.
But you're 12 hours a day in these boots. I'm in them a lot. Yeah, that's incredible. That's great. Yeah. It's amazing that you get to design product. What's the Union binding that you guys designed?
That's a Falcor base, which is Travis's base. Yeah. And then some other, to be perfectly honest, Johan Malkowski knows better than I do what I want, and then he just gives it to me. And he's like, I got you these straps with this high back and this. And Martino, he's the guy over in Lake Como or some beautiful place in Italy, and he like eats grapes and thinks about me and designs these bindings. And those guys at Union are so spot on. Their product is great, and like the Baldface binding is a great binding, but like all their bindings are pretty awesome. Yeah. I've ridden the Now bindings as well. Hats off to JF and the team over there, because that's a great product. I mean, tell me what's a shitty product these days? Well, because I don't even know.
I think you have to go down a tier, right? Like, so there is the like, Canadian Tire store now has like, old snowboard brand names like Avalanche or whatever, where they just make, the whole board with bindings is $129 or something, right?
Because like the stuff I'm getting and I see people in up there, I just don't really see a lot of really like awful bad product that doesn't work.
When we were young,
years ago, it was like shit didn't work.
It's cool when they shoot a, Bud Fawcett shares like his slides that didn't get printed right now. And then when you're looking at a crisp Bud Fawcett shot and the boots and the bindings
buckles are undone,
you're like, oh my God. You forget that that's what we were up against. Yeah. Like literally your Sims bindings just flapping open, your feet coming out of your Sorels and walking down to get your board and your socks. Oh, yeah. Like that happens.
Yeah. Breaking snowboards was a thing.
Breaking boards, several.
That doesn't really happen anymore.
Right. Yeah. I remember Division 23 just falling apart. but you wanted that board. They were the boards that you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you worked for Glissade.
I did. I sure did.
And crap, we sold
Those boards
crap.
did not fall apart.
No, we sold
Those boards
crap.
are still riding good.
The crapple board. I've put
There's one in the
myself
bathroom
on.
downstairs.
Oh, you found one? You got one?
Tyler Brawley sent me one for the
So
summer.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of times on the show, I think Scof was talking about it. Yeah. He asked if anyone knows where my first board is, like give it back. And he got it back.
Scof did.
Yeah, because listeners are just, they're tuning in and going, oh yeah, I got that in my closet. Here you go, buddy.
Nice.
Which is awesome. Yeah. The community's great. Snowboard community is really, really good. In no small part due to your efforts to nurture it at that high end. You know what I mean? And I've heard you talk about ILSA, like the Indigenous Life Sports Academy.
Yeah.
We'll be talking with Court later on tonight.
Nice.
And
You can use the office if you.
oh wow,
Yeah.
I'll ask him I'll ask him where he's at.
He's a nice guy.
One of the nicest.
He's a bridge builder. He's a really
Bridge
interesting
builder.
dude. I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to hearing your podcast on him. I think, one of my goals is to try to like seek out and identify guys exactly like Court,
Cool.
Or like Demian, or like I don't want to take credit for other people's hard work, but like I know that I have opportunities that I can share with the right people, and if you are careful and really like pick the right people to work with and give them great tools, you can do things like supernatural. And Court's one of those guys that's like I was talking about Travis. Give him a canvas. He's going to make some beautiful art.
Right.
Court's exactly another one of those guys. That,
Unbelievable, yeah.
And I'm learning so much from him. Like I'm from Cleveland, and when I meet someone from Cleveland, like John Colonna, who runs K2, or Elevate, we kind of speak the same language, and we have a similar process on how we found, success and failure and learned. And it's like, as an Indigenous leader, a young Indigenous leader, I'm learning that his language is a lot different than mine. And his process is a lot different than mine. But his heart is 100% in the same, like we are in the same place about trying to create opportunity for people. And so it's been really cool learning from him, like another way to look at things. He's a very thoughtful, very well-spoken guy to be in the position he's in.
The Indigenous Life Sports Academy, and the listeners of this show will have heard about it because all the fundraising that we do, most of it has gone to those guys.
Oh, great.
Because they're local for us. And they started in North Vancouver with a goal of sending an Indigenous kid to the Olympics.
Unreal.
Which was dope.
Yeah,
so they've been doing it a long time.
We're working together, and it's a slow process making change, but we are working together to create opportunities because they basically get lift tickets and gear and lessons for kids that maybe Indigenous kids that maybe wouldn't get the opportunity to go to Whistler or to go to Seymour or go to whatever. And it's like this really cool program reminiscent of the Chill program or the Learn to Ride program, and like awesome. But then we were talking, and Mikey is Court's kind of partner in all this stuff. And like, they really love snowboarding. Like they're pretty good,
Oh, hell yeah.
And it was like, we need to kind of level this thing up and start creating some opportunities for these Indigenous youth to become guides and get some subsidies and some opportunities so they could take the CAA level 1, the Ops 1, they could take the CSGA classes. And we're slowly finding ways they're actually doing a pre-level 1 on the coast for Indigenous youth through ILSA with the CSGA this year, which is really cool.
Dude.
And looking at creating some bursaries and some opportunities for those people coming up, because that's kind of a perfect case scenario, really, is if we can create inroads. That's who I want guiding me around, is somebody who has a ancestral tie to the land, who understands the geology from a like cellular level, as opposed to, and I love all my guides from Ontario and everything, but like, having somebody who's like ancestors were here, that's like, I think that's adds another layer of authenticity to the experience. So
land keepers,
it's going to take some time to create these, but Court's kind of you get an idea and then you're like, Court, you think we could do it? And his first thing, he's like, hell yeah. What do we got to do? Let's roll up our sleeves, start figuring out how to make it happen. I know this guy, that's how we do it. So.
That's very cool. Yeah. I've definitely had eyes on that. I had this guy, Steve LaRosier from Stoked.org. He was the founder there. Just kind of explained to me, look, you think that the shortcut is getting stuff to happiness, but it's not. It's giving it away, right? Like, so
100%.
You can test that. Any listener can test that. It's like, do you feel better when you get the newest iPhone? For a second, you're kind of excited. Then you're like scared it's going to get stolen, or you're going to break it, or you're going to fuck it up. But you instantly get this warm feeling when you share something.
When you give your old one away to someone.
Especially if it's something that you see value in,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's a whole different economy. It's the economy of feeling good.
Yeah.
And we're on a different trajectory as a culture, as a society. We're on a, like, build a legacy, right? Hey, you don't want your kids not to inherit something, right? So get as much crap as you can. And then you're like, but
I
wait.
warn the kids. I'm like, there's nothing. I'm burning this thing out. Like,
Burning it down.
you're on your own, kids. Dad's
Giving it
spending it,
away.
all. Like, I'm
Selling
going to be the happiest
spending
70-year-old ever. I'm just going to be
amazing.
like, look at is he wearing Versace? What's he doing? And I don't know. I had to spend the money on something.
The quirky dude.
Yeah.
I just met Rick Alden.
Oh, now that's a quirky dude.
Wow. Love that guy.
Yeah, his energy is like through the roof.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I saw him at Mecca there.
Yes.
So
Rick, that's right.
Rick used to book the whole lodge for Skull Candy, and these were like epic trips.
Amazing.
Scotty Whitlake out there with Mikey, and like the crew was crazy, those Skull Candy trips. And there's Jeff Curl and Rick Alden kind of at the helm, and Luke Edgar was working there then.
Yep.
And then Rick kind of went off and did his other things, and life gets in the way, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. And then I run into him at Mecca, and it was like he was so stoked to see me. I was so stoked to see him. And then one of the parties kind of breaks up, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I got to go back to my hotel, and then I'm going to this thing to speak tonight at this other thing." He's like, "Well, I'll give you a ride." I was like, "Oh, killer, dude. Great. I just called an Uber. I'll cancel it." And I don't know Uber from a hole in the wall, you know?
Okay,
so I'm like, okay. And we go out, and he has this like fancy car in Denver, and he's a Denver boy.
Right.
And he took me for a ride through the streets of Denver. That was like that Vegas weekend, you know, with F1 this weekend.
Yeah.
We were like in a Porsche that's so low to the ground. I think it was on two wheels for half of the time, going around corners. We cut through a parking garage at one point. There was like a shortcut that he knew.
Oh my God.
I was like, holy shit, Rick, you drive like you snowboard, because he snowboards on like a 187 Dupraz black base, like waxed right up. And he just goes like SFD down everything.
Wow.
Yeah, the dude is a very fast snowboarder.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's
scary.
He's one of those enigmas
Yeah.
where it's like you almost want to hang out just to see, well, what's going to happen.
Oh yeah,
What's going to happen? You got a private jet. Let's go somewhere.
Yeah, he's a neat guy.
Yeah, and he was
a lot of good guys.
He was very, very nice, and he was at the 1910 event, and they were starting to pack up, and he just kind of went, "I want that, and that."
Yeah.
Which was,
He's a
super
collector.
dope.
His snowboard collection is legendary.
I asked him which one was his favorite, and maybe I'll put that on the Patreon or something.
Yeah, he has quite the collection.
He's got quite the collection. Yeah. So you're collecting some stuff here too, like sort of. Are you serious about it, or is it just like as stuff?
Oh
comes
yeah,
up?
no, my collection's pretty. It's not like Rick Alden's or Jeff Patterson's or anything, but
right.
Yeah, I got a pretty wicked collection for
Yeah.
sure, and they all mean something to me. Like I think the older you get and the more you collect. Like I started where it was like, oh wow, $20 for an old ketchup and mustard. I'm gonna get that. Like I'm not gonna let that sit.
Right.
Oh look at that, a brushy craps. Yeah, garage sale. I'll pick that up. And then it kind of like with that Vintage Snowboard Trader Facebook page, it kind of got silly.
It got out of hand.
All of a sudden, European dudes are like, "I'll give you $500 for that old," and it was like, "Okay, that's not me.
Right.
I'm not spending a ton of money on vintage snowboards." But then it kind of turned into like, well, like I kind of do need a Jerry A sword though.
There are some that are important.
Like I need to have that one. I was like, I saw this checker pig. I was like, I can't let somebody.
It's mint.
It's never been on snow. It's never been mounted. I was like, this guy was Dom I bought this from. And I was like, yeah, dude, I can't let that go to someone else. I need to have this checker pig. So, yeah, as a collector now, it's like impulse buys, and I'm kind of a bad dad, and sometimes I probably spend more than I should. But my collection is very esoteric, and it's like they're all special boards to me. Like I have that Hetzel with the trucks on the bottom. I have my original Nitro Pyro 165.
We're Pyro brothers. That's one thing that
one of my first boards.
I had a 55 that I bought from my friend's girlfriend when she crashed into the chalet and said, "Fuck snowboarding." I was like, "Are you going to sell that board?"
There you go.
I think I bought it for $100 or $200 with the Nitro bindings on it, or maybe it had Burton bindings. But you said the 65 was stiff. I seem to remember the 55 being kind of right on the, like kind of perfect.
Mine was stiff.
Yeah. So it held an edge. It rode fast, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Mine was like a freestyle little machine.
Yeah.
But they made them over several years, and there was the Jeff Davis Pyro as well with the kind of cap construction thing.
Mine was the purple and black one with kind of a Mayan like circle on it. It was so sick.
My buddy had the Diablo from that year.
Yeah,
186.
same year. Yeah,
same year.
Yep.
Beautiful. They were beautiful boards. They rode really well for that time.
Yeah.
When you look at what
Nitros still ride really good.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, if you got to pick a brand that's kind of been around for a long time, that's a little bit of a step above, I would put Nitro right in that category with, Capita and Burton and, Mervin. And I mean, they're a top tier company, man. They just sent actually some new boards out. Benny Pellegrino is now their sales manager.
Dope. Yeah.
And he sent, I think, 4 boards out. And I was looking at them, they just came, so I haven't ridden them. Nobody's ridden them. But the finish on them is gorgeous. They're beautiful looking boards. The shapes, they're the Brian Fox kind of.
Oh, sick.
I think there's like 3 or 4 of them.
Yep. Like a series.
They look really nice. I'm looking forward to trying one of those.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I rode with Benny at Snowbird.
Yeah.
Which is...
I've ridden with Benny at Snowboard too.
What an experience,
Psychotic.
Right? So fast.
Oh my God. The side hits there.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
Fun.
Yeah, and we just randomly bumped into Jeff Davis.
Oh my God.
We fucked with him. We took his board, like off the rack, and we hit it. And then we saw him come out and do the panic thing of like, holy shit.
Benny is the best.
Benny's the best.
No.
If listeners have listened to your bomb hole and your airtime, then they might have the wrong idea that
they're very lonely, bored people if they're listening to me of all these great people in podcasts.
Oh, come on. You're a great guest. Absolutely. But they might get the idea that you've never had any mental wellness challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're...
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. You want to talk about it. So here's what happened to me. Crazy story. And it's hard to even put it into time, but... There was a time where our office was down across the street over there. Mm-hmm. You'd park your car. There were some train tracks you crossed, and then you went to the office. And it was like, this is a goddamn snowboarding boot problem, too. I'm going to get to that. So I had come down from the lodge. It gets dark early, and I had to run into the office to, sign paychecks. In the old days, I would get a stack of paychecks.
Yep.
And being the owner of the business, I was like, I'm signing every one of these paychecks. And I took pride in sometimes trying to remember so I could write a little something on them, like, thanks for helping with the transfer, just try to put a little, I always appreciated that from bosses if they noticed good work. So sometimes I'd try to remember things. That's a good time to do it and see how much money you're spending.
Yeah.
So I park my truck and I go running into the office so I could make it there in time. And I was wearing these, I'm not going to say the brand of the boot, but I have bitched the guy out who gave me these boots, which is probably a dick move, but I was concussed. And I run across the tracks. I step on the tracks, and there was a hard plastic piece on the insoles.
Yep.
And I stepped on that. It was like soap shoes. And I don't really remember what happened, but I remember kind of getting to my knees and kind of being like, what the fuck? And then okay, and was really confused for a few minutes. And then ran into the office and was like, not myself. It was really hard. It's really hard to explain. And the person who was in the office, I was like, she's like, are you all right? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm all right. I just fell. I just had a fall, and I didn't really put it together kind of signed the paychecks, and then went home and had a super bad headache, and it kind of went on for a couple days, and I wasn't myself. I wasn't in my right mind, but it was like training the next day. So it was like up to the lodge in front of 80 employees, trying to be the leader guy, trying to keep it together. And we had this really great woman, Stella, who worked up there then. And I kind of looked at her. I was like, I'm not feeling like myself. I don't know what's going on, but can you do a little bit? So she stepped up and helped a bit. And it was like a little weird. It's hard to explain unless you've been really concussed, but it was just like, felt like I was walking around on ball bearings for a couple days, and my emotions were weird. And it wasn't anger. It was like tears were coming out in super weird times. And we did finish training, and we were just doing one of the first 2 wrist maturities. And I got up in front I do a little talk we do talks in the nights. And I just looked at everyone, and just the tears came. And I was like, I can't do this. And I'm a public speaker. Like, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I looked at Pat Moore. I was like, I don't know what's happening, dude. And I just like pulled out and went to town, told Paula, I'm like, I think I hit my head. Like, I'm fucked up. I don't know what's going on. And so I went to a chiropractor in town, and the chiropractors are actually pretty good for concussion stuff. And there's a guy who specializes in that stuff. And he's like, you definitely have a concussion. You should definitely make sure you're hydrated, get plenty of rest. It's kind of like what you'd expect somebody to say. There's no magic pill or like stretch that's going to make a concussion goes away. It's kind of time, and it's kind of like pay attention to things.
Don't hit your head again. That's a
so
big one.
Make it through, kind of starting to feel good again. And then we have Christmas, and we have some friends up there, and we have those GT snow racers at the lodge.
Yep.
And we had one that was kind of built up with like broken snowboards that were cut off.
Oh, shit.
I literally just rode it from the sauna down to in front of the lodge. I got right in front of the lodge and like crossed it up and had both my hands on the handlebars and went right over the handlebars and hit my head again.
Oh, fuck.
And like this, the weird thing is kind of a boss and a dad is like, I can say it now, like, but you don't want to show weakness or vulnerability. And I'm like a sissy, but it was like, people need to know that the guy in charge has his shit together.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially when there's like snow safety and things like that going on. Even though I'm not guiding, I'm not doing any of that stuff. I had this in my mind. Like, I didn't want to share with people that I was like not doing very good.
Hurting.
And like light hurt my eyes, and like having to make decisions was really hard.
Oh, wow.
We had young twins at the time. So Paula was really stretched out. When I walked in the door, she really needed me there, you know?
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of space, and it was like, man, I can't even tell you things that happened. But there was like 2 months there where it was really hard to just function, you know?
Yeah.
To just like deal. Like, didn't even, like, there would be times where I didn't know why I was in the hardware store. And that's not like me at all. And I'd be like, well, the fucking toilet needs a new wax ring, and I need some of these screws, and this is my mind. And then the helicopter's leaving, and so I got to go to the hardware store to get it. And I'd be standing in the hardware store just like, and tears would come, and I'd be like, I don't even know, like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Like, fuck, what's happening to my brain? You know, it was like this kind of panic of like, I'm losing my shit.
You don't have access to the sharpness that you had before.
And it was like kind of getting worse, you know, where it was like, and so pride gets in the way, and you don't want to, you know, I went back to the chiropractor maybe once or twice, and he's like, no, you're healing up good. Like, you know, your eye, cause they look at your like pupils, and they got their things they look at, you know, and he's like, maybe you should start seeing a therapist, you know, maybe it's something. So started seeing a therapist, talked to him about it a bit. And he actually gave me some meditation and some breathing techniques that actually started on that path that really, he was like, when you feel like it's getting out, you know, he's like, that's when it's a cue. Like, just recognize that and like sit in your car. He goes, when you pull into that driveway and you know those kids are, you know, Paul is stressed and the kids are loud and whatever, and the work is there. He's like, breathe it out. Just take 10 breaths and just like slow down. Walk in on your own terms. Don't walk in a victim to this or whatever. It was great advice. Great therapist I saw and still see. And it took some time. It definitely took some time, and I stopped drinking right then. It was like, that's enough. That's not going to help anything.
Yeah, that'll exacerbate
And that helped a lot,
situation.
I think, and kind of got pretty serious about, what I put into my body. I was like being better at that stuff. Still probably ate more meat than I should have and not enough vegetables, but that's what happens when you're from where I'm from. I grew up eating out of boxes. But it took a solid chunk of time, 6 months, 9 months of like, hubba. And then slowly you start recognizing like, okay, I'm doing good, man. I'm stoked. I'm making some good decisions, but it was a really shitty, hard way to go through life. I have the utmost empathy for people who have brain injury and undiagnosed issues and stuff. Man, when your shit's not working right, it is a shitty place to approach every other thing. Mm-hmm. And that's when you got to just hit the brakes and take the time to be like, I need some help. I need to go to that chiropractor. I need to go to that therapist. I need to learn some new tools to navigate these things.
Right.
And I think, good piece of advice is like, just take all the kind of booze and weed and things out of the equation, because that doesn't really help.
It's interesting.
You know what I mean?
It's interesting because there's a brand of media these days, or just a brand of people that I was talking with Al Clark about it. He's like, what happened to the like drinking is fun, woohoo, let's party guys? Like, where the hell are they? I'm like, they're younger, I think.
They are, but it's not like it used to be, and that's an okay thing, man. And we weren't like, dude, our parents went so much harder than like we went hard.
Sure.
But drinking out of sadness and drinking out of like war related things and the shit they had to deal with, and they turned to the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different than what we dealt with. And now the next generation, I was talking to Alex about it this morning. Our CFO is 27. He's a great guy. He's like kind of like, walking the path. And I'm like, what the hell? You guys don't even like get like wasted anymore and like do stupid shit. He's like, yeah, we do. But like, we kind of know, we've all seen how that story ends. I think they do it out of celebration and because it's a really fun night, but they don't do it like we did it, where it was like beer bongs and every night and like, all the dumb shit we did.
Yeah. I don't even know how to characterize it, but like,
and it's a good thing.
Yeah, sure. It's a good thing for sure.
And when you talk to Estelle, you'll see it. Like, she has no interest in living that lifestyle.
Yeah, my kids are the same. My daughter moved to Montreal for school. She went to Concordia for a year when she was 18. Mm-hmm. So at 18, you can drink in Montreal. Like, Quebec's 18. Yeah. She didn't drink at all. Yeah. I was like, what are you doing? You could be partying like crazy. Yeah. She was like, I'm trying to get back into UBC. I'm trying to get back to BC. Yeah. So she did really well on her. And it's just not their mode. I don't know what it was that I can't put my finger on my irresponsible drinking, where it came from. It seemed like a show-offy kind of like...
It was fun as hell.
It was fucking fun as fuck.
And got away with it to an extent, I guess. But I look back at it and I'm like, even accomplishing all these things that I can kind of stack up and be super proud of the things I accomplished. Sometimes I'm kind of also like, I wonder what I would have accomplished if I had my shit a little bit tighter.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it wouldn't have worked out because you wouldn't have been so loose making those decisions. Right. I think you're still facilitating, from what I can hear, you're still facilitating those experiences at the lodge.
Look, if you want to, the thing I love about the lodge, I love many things about the lodge, but like, nobody's driving drunk, right? Nobody's getting in fights, right? Nobody's cheating on their wives. Nobody's like, we just simply, or very rarely do we get the belligerent kind of asshole drunk, right? We don't book people like that. And people are up there to have a really good time with their buddies, and there's great snowboarding the next day or skiing, whatever it is. Right. And so it's kind of a perfect place if you want to have that extra scotch at the end of the night, or, have a few beers. It's like, it's actually a good place to do that and get a bit loose. Yeah. And generally, 49 times out of 50, 490 times out of 500. It's a great experience, you know, and it works out great. And occasionally, actually last New Year's, we get some people that kind of go to the dark side.
Sure, it happens.
And I call them out on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're being an asshole, you know, and I'm here to tell you, like, I'm sober. I don't mind telling you, like, you're on the other side of the line right now.
Right.
You know, and they've learned from that.
Right.
A couple guys that were kind of kooks last year at New Year's both wrote me these really heartfelt letters that were like, wow, I really needed that. I really respect you, and being looked at in the eye and told I was on the other side really hit home, and I appreciate it, and I needed to be told that. So it's like, I'm stoked that we created a place like that where people can bond and it loosens everybody up and all that kind of stuff. I see it.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've done enough of it myself.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
I love it when I see people connecting like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that people went dark all the time when we were just partying too hard, right? Like, and you could deal with it. We had a resilience around it. But then sometimes it does feel good to give yourself a bit of a shake. Mm-hmm. Like, wow, I went way too hard last night.
Yeah.
What did I say to that dude? Yeah. Holy shit.
Well, when you're stuck in the cat with them, too, it also gives you the opportunity to be like, dude, I'm sorry. I didn't really mean that.
Right,
I think I was being a bit of a dick. I'm
hammered.
sorry.
Yeah,
Can you forgive me? Like, that takes a lot of strength to do that. But boy, those words mean so much to somebody when they hear them in a place like that. So.
And I mean, where we came from, and I'm projecting this on you, but the story I tell myself about where I came from, drinking and partying was a part of being a snowboarder. Like, you were on vacation all the time. You were traveling around and meeting people and getting loose, you know, like it was, there were so few top tier pros that couldn't also drink you under the table. Right. And that's just, it doesn't lend itself to professional training. You know, like if you had a coach, the first thing the coach is going to say is like, okay, you can't drink this season or whatever.
Totally different world now.
Yeah.
The athletes that we get out to the lodge now I'm just so proud of them all. They're so great. And they get loose. Don't, like, that natural selection party was loose. Like, do not get me wrong. And that's a great place to do it. And they all earn their whatever they want to do. But, like, also, they take it pretty seriously. Like, you know, what was I just listening? Oh, I was listening to Mike Hatchett's Bomb Hole, which was epic.
Dope.
And he kind of called it out where he was like, you know, you want to be a professional snowboarder, you should start with being really fucking good at snowboarding.
Hell yeah.
And there's a lot of people that kind of have seats at the table right now that probably shouldn't have seats at the table.
Sure.
If anything, we should shrink it up because I know a lot of those super elite riders, men and women, and they really put a lot of time into their craft, like all their time. Like, they're dreaming about it. They're thinking about it. They're training. They're riding, you know, in the Southern Hemisphere in the summer. They're training. They're trying. I really have a lot of respect for those guys because that didn't happen in our time. It was pure personality and steez that got you through that.
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah. Palmer was like, I did a lot of my stuff on natural talent and just sheer, fortitude.
Yeah.
And he was considered one of the best athletes in the world.
Yeah.
Never trained.
Yeah.
Just party. Actually, that's not true. I can't speak for what his training regimen was. He did train really hard to make the last Olympics that he went to, and he kicked all of his vices and his Achilles got him in the end, and fuck, it was just a nightmare. But I mean,
he peed on my leg one time.
You got a Palmer story of him peeing
I have
on
a
your
story
leg.
of him. I don't think he knows. If I've never met him, I mean, I did meet him there, and
Yep.
I'm sure he's a super nice guy now. But back when we were all drunk, I was playing foosball with Tim Manning, and him and Halapoff decided they wanted the table next, and we were like, "Well, you got to beat us." And then we were playing, and the next thing I know, someone was peeing on my leg. And I turned around, I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
What a story!
Yeah,
oh
it was
my
pretty
God.
funny.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure if it was Palmer or Halapoff, actually, to be fair, but it was one
Sure.
of those guys. It was
Sure.
just like they had enough of us. They were like, "We'll show you how to get out of the pool."
You bought a house in Kings Beach.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I love that place.
There's one particular Mexican food place there.
Oh yeah.
That
Well, there's Las Panchitas, but then there's the Mexican market.
the Mexican market
does wet burritos.
That's it. The wet burrito there. I know. It's worth driving there right now, getting the wet burrito, and then
if there's one thing that Nelson does not have, it's good Mexican food.
Okay.
When I travel, it's a problem.
We can get a bliss ball though, right? We can get some sort of
we can get hippie like
carob.
hemp carob energy balls.
But no good. No, yeah. It's
it's
burger month right now, so I'm going to go for a burger with my buddy.
Burger month is pretty dope.
Yeah, I hear that's pretty awesome. But yeah, so Kings Beach, I think I heard you say that the housing prices didn't really blast off there.
They blasted off enough for me to start the business, which was cool.
Yeah.
But I got out from underneath it. That's really a long story. I know you don't want to go that long on the podcast. That's a long story, but
what was it like living in Kings Beach, and who else is there? Man. Tom Burt's living
Tom Burt lived nearby.
Yeah, the Hatchets are just up the road.
Hatchets were just up the road. Wade Hoyt, R.I.P. He lived there. Tim Manning, Ruben Sanchez, I.J. Valenzuela,
wow,
Paul Eggers, Dana McCorkle. We were all like this kind of crew. Sky Fawcett. We were all this like amazing crew. Sunday Hauser was there. They were all like a little, there was like a. I don't know. It did kind of feel like us against the world back then, and I was definitely like on the outside of the really great snowboarders that were going all the time, and it was amazing, man. It was a really special time to come up. And
would you guys pick a resort and everybody gets a pass at one place like Homewood?
Everyone wanted squaw passes, but then Homewood was where we all really went. And there was a lady, Becky Moore, who was in charge of marketing at Squaw. She was awesome. And then she went to Homewood, and Tahoe Snowboard Series started going to Homewood. We'd go to Mount Rose and then travel. And you'd go to like Bear Valley, or you'd go down to Dodge Ridge, or you'd go to Kirkwood. And those were like, oh, big deal. We're going to go down and check it out down to Heavenly or whatever it was.
Sick.
But North Shore and South Shore were pretty different places. And then Boreal had night riding, so and it was really cheap. It was like $100 for a night pass at Boreal.
Oh wow,
as a snowboard, whatever. So like lots of riding up at Boreal, which meant like a lot of people were into jumping and side hits and riding, but like me and my buddy IJ and Tim to an extent, like we would go to Donner for the Boreal night stuff, but then just go hike the road during the day.
Dope.
So go up at like 2:00 in the afternoon, get some POW, and then go to Jabassi.
That road's insane.
Yeah. And the other side of the road from Boreal.
Yeah.
And go hike up towards Castle Peak and that stuff up there.
Unfucking believable.
Yeah, those are really cool days. We got away with murder as far as like being idiots in the backcountry back then.
Right.
Learning, but like, oh my God,
it was Buffery that really like switched it over for you, right?
Yeah. Dude, Buffery. When I first, Buffery. Yeah, I have. Yeah, Buffery turned on a bunch of lights for me for sure.
What a like Snow Yoda, whatever you want to like. Just
I don't know that he's Snow Yoda. Like
a beam of light.
Yeah, he is a human.
Very
human.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Sometimes they spin people together for the right reasons. I really love John a lot, and he has been like such a positive role model on me. I don't know. I could talk a lot about Buff. But when I first met him, he was a telemarker.
Oh, wow.
Little known fact.
Really?
Yeah. We made endless fun of him. His nickname was Tumbleweed because he had crazy hair that would stick out from his thing. And when he'd ragdoll on the telemarking skis, it looked like a tumbleweed going down the hill. It was like sticks and hair and shit everywhere. It was pretty great. That was Craig gave him that nickname.
Unfucking believable.
Yeah.
Tumbleweed.
And, he had a company called Safety Wrangler when he would do movie work, but behind his back, we called him the Safety Mangler.
Oh my God.
He's a regular dude. We all fuck with each other,
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things. I don't know if you see it. You would know because you see these groups come up at the lodge. Like, there was a lot of fuckery back in the 90s.
Oh, my God.
Like, so much. Is it still there? Like, do they still... Okay, we
still fuck with each other all the time.
I mean, you guys, but to the younger generation, like, is Mark Morris putting ketchup in someone's boots? Or really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, same shit.
It evolves.
Yeah.
They have social media to fuck with each other now, too.
Oh, wow, of course.
So there's pictures that get taken, that get posted, that get deleted real quick in the morning. There's they all fuck with each other pretty good.
That's cool.
I worry about the pressure they put upon themselves sometime.
With the social media aspect, or just
with the, they get to be pretty, I knew Mark before he was, hey buddy, we're just finishing up. You can come in.
How was it?
Oh, awesome.
She's all lit up. That's great.
Nice.
Oh, amazing.
That's Estelle. They can't see. That's
No.
Estelle walking in here next.
Yeah.
Hi.
Mark was like 17 the first time I met him. Sage too, and they get so much like, oh, you're the next Shaun White, or you're the next this and that, and it's a lot of weight on those guys as they're coming up. And one of the things we're going to talk about at Risk Maturity this year is mental health. Mark Landvic's going to come up and do a little bit of talk on his journey.
Very cool.
But also financial literacy is a huge thing we're trying to push in Risk Maturity this year, because speaking of Jamie, he made $1 million and didn't necessarily, nobody ever kind of clued him in that he had to pay taxes on that.
Right.
And it's just
a
like,
lot of
guys,
people.
like
Yep.
a lot of these guys don't come up with like money or parents that like teach them that stuff. God knows the schools don't teach shit about financial literacy.
No.
And it's the one thing that's like, it's everybody's responsibility. Like, you have to pay your taxes. You have a great day. Remember, the government's taking like half of it. Mm-hmm. You win a car in a contest and you win a check for $10,000. Like $5,000 of that is going to the government.
Right.
You better just start understanding that right out of the gate.
Right.
And so I worry about a lot of those guys because like they think the ride's going to last forever. And the thing is, if you spend it all, they're still going to come after you to pay your taxes on that money.
Yeah, you still owe it.
So, I worry about a lot of those guys, and I'm going to try to work, and just as much as we risk maturity on the avalanche side and on the riding side, I really want to start helping some of these guys develop a path towards financial independence as well.
I couldn't
while they're making
believe
money.
how like next level your talk to Scof and Scotty about 1910, about write a business plan. Like, and it was just like you were just running this off the top of your head. But I was like, I need to be writing this down. This is like the most poignant and like boiled down to its core tenets philosophy that I'd heard about business. I was just going, holy shit! I need to.
I've learned a lot.
Redo my whole thing.
Actually, Eric, here's a big piece of news. I've been talking with the good folks over at Snowboard magazine. Mm-hmm. They just had their 20th year, which is great. That they're still going good.
Yeah.
I was talking with Lucky and John over there, and I am going to start something like a column or maybe a podcast. But the idea is this: I'm going to go to some brands that are not around anymore. I'd love to get like Rob Morrow on, like Joel Gomez on, like Trent Bush on, and start being like, let's do a little post-mortem on sessions.
Wow.
What happened?
What a great idea.
From a business perspective.
Yeah.
Let's get, let's get Trent Bush to talk about Wave Rave. Let's get Rob to talk about Morrow.
Twist.
Justin to talk about Twist. Like,
Rob's
what?
ready to go right now. I've been speaking with Rob. We did 2 hours on the phone just talking.
So I'm going to start doing these things. We're talking about calling it Rise and Fall, or it might be called like Friendier or something like that. But I want to start like diving in so that we can all learn from these amazing experiences. And I think there's enough water under the bridge on a lot of them.
Yep.
Kip Barnett, like there's so many great brands that seem like they were going to last
Chip
forever.
Wilson, West
right?
Beach. Because then he's got the post-West Beach story as well, right? But West
I'll have
Beach
to work
was
my
a
way
big
up to
deal.
get Chip on my show. It's a pretty
I'll
big
give
deal.
you his number. Just give me a
but
shout.
like that's kind of something that I think we could do. And then through learning from that, we can start passing on some literacy in the finance world to people.
Yeah, you're the right guy to do it, right?
That's kind of something
and I realize now, because you went to school for ski mountain management, what was it? Ski resort management?
Yeah.
Like that is a thing. There are like, what, 20 ski resorts? I don't know, a couple of hundred. But like, how many people are in that class? It seems like that would be not a
pretty small
big
class.
class.
They're not teaching it there anymore. I just found out.
Right.
Now it's here at Selkirk College. They have a 2-year program.
Oh shit!
But
so it's still
basically
happening.
a HRR, like a hotel resort restaurant management.
Yeah.
With the emphasis on the ski side, and you learn a little bit of operations. But yeah,
But that was invaluable to you, obviously, because you hit the ground with the knowledge of like, okay, I need to do spreadsheets. I need to do cost analysis reports.
I knew some of that stuff.
Most people don't know anything about that.
This is what I take for granted.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. Like, even I saw Scotty just like, jotting it down. Like,
I know. Actually, I have a call with him tomorrow.
Good.
I sit in on a lot of calls with a lot of entrepreneurs and try to just help help come up with a plan, make some achievable goals, give them the tools so that they can measure whether they're making their goals and if they're coming up. So it's like half of it is like a really smart business partner I had, Henry Fisher. He was awesome. And he always referred to business as like flying a plane. And it's like actually taking off in the plane isn't really the hard part. Achieving level flight is kind of hard. Navigating where you want to go is kind of hard. And putting it back down on the ground is super hard.
Yeah.
And you need instruments on the dashboard that you know how to read and you know how to manipulate in order to safely land the plane where you want to go. And if you take off and you don't know how to fucking push and pull on the things and what the dials are, you have very little chance of landing that plane where you intended to take it off. You'll land it in the side of the mountain at top speed.
So a lot of the guys that started snowboard companies, their destination was,
get it
I
off the
just want to
ground.
be rich.
And I just want to fly up
let's
into
fly
the sky.
up into the
That's
sky.
it.
That's it. And then the plane just went ba-boom.
That's right.
Right. So like, I love the idea of going back through these iconic brands because, you know, something like Sessions had, they're still going, but they had like a 20-year run where everything looked like it was in place. Yeah. Look at Sims. Like Sims always just felt like it was this far away from being this huge
the companies go, there's so many cool ones, and so many of those entrepreneurs come out to the lodge, and now they're like, I know one guy who started like cold plunge pools when they started. He's killing it with that right now.
Cool.
You know, all these guys get into other businesses. They don't just quit.
Yeah. And now we're getting to that nostalgia stage where I know, I think it's Tim from Board of Authority. He's like, they made money in another way. And he's like, I'm going to give another crack at Board of Authority with what I know now.
Nice.
You know, so they're opening a Board of Authority in Whistler. And we're, you know, it's crazy. The people that came out of snowboarding, out of that culture, in every walk of life, like with those skills, that skill set of dropping in really is what it is, of like actually living life.
Yeah.
And they lived life in, you know, Derek Height in film or whoever. It's that mindset is different. And I used to think of it kind of as the sideways stance board sports mentality, right? It came from surfing, it evolved in skateboarding, and then snowboarding as well. But I think snowboarding was different in that it formed in the vacuum of the financial, you know, like people making money. Like brands were started to make money, right? Whereas a lot of brands in surfing and skateboarding, when you mentioned Jerry Lopez, sure, they made money with the Lightning Bolt brand, but they also had to keep it in check. Whereas there are brands that are still going now that were started to be a money brand and are still being run as a money brand.
Well, that's what I'll be diving into when I get my shit together and
doing these
things.
Yeah. When do you have an estimated start date for that?
No. I'm going to find some time and write some thoughts down and probably start with a couple of written things. And then my idea is like, while I'm at the lodge, I have these people up there, so I'll sit them down for an hour. And
Well, if you need any help setting it up, let me know.
I sure will.
Love doing that stuff. That's so much fun. Yeah. I mean, setting up Ethan. I set up Kendra at Sunshine they're doing a podcast now.
Nice.
So you just get your gear up.
That's it.
I usually, what I do is I just do this. And then I go, okay, now you're going to operate this, this, and this.
Nice.
And then you interview.
Well, luckily I've got Dustin and Steph up there.
Oh, yeah.
They're insane.
Of course. You've already got the team.
Yeah, they'll figure that shit out.
Yeah, that's so sick.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you very much for doing
problem.
the show.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for having me in
show.
your office. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
means the world to me. You're one of the shining bright lights in the snowboard community, and I've heard a lot of amazing shit you've done behind the scenes for a lot of people that are really important to our community. And with and I don't want to even talk about it because it's just something that you do for the good of all of us, which is, dude, I can't even
appreciate it.
On behalf of the whole community. Like, dude, you are where you are for a reason.
It's a pleasure to sit here with you in this amazing office in this amazing town.
Look at
and
this.
Now you get to actually have an intelligent conversation with somebody who probably has better insights than this old buzzard.
I don't know. We'll see.
Right on. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
FNRad shoutouts this week to Jeff Pensiero, and special thanks to the entire Baldface crew. I left the offices with epic swag and a huge smile on my face from seeing all the amazing 90s boards that Jeff has tucked in every corner of the warehouse. Congratulations, Honky Donneberg, who won a signed Devin Walsh wired snowboard as our Patreon November prize draw winner. We've got 20 Patreon supporters, and I'd be so stoked to add 20 more in December. So if you're looking for a Christmas present for yourself, that would also be a Christmas present to me, just saying. And if you want a free sample of New Green's Superfood Organic Green Juice, simply tag New Greens and 2 friends in any FNRad post. Be sure to come back next week for more FNRad snowboarding presented by Skyview Campers and brought to you by FNRad Productions.